Hi, I'm Dr. Daniel Amen. I am here to tell you that you are not stuck with the brain you have. You can make it better, and I can prove it. And in this video series, I am going to teach you how to have a better brain and a better life. I'm so excited about this. I have been at this for more than 3 decades. Here at Amen Clinics, we look at people's brains, and the imaging work has just taught us so many valuable lessons. But the biggest lesson, the most important lesson, is you're not stuck with the brain you have. You can make it better. So if you struggle with anxiety, if you struggle with depression, if you struggle with a lack of attention or temper problems or memory problems, it doesn't have to be that way. That's what's so exciting in my life. And it's really just doing a couple of simple things that you develop the mindset of somebody who loves and cares for their brain and is just doing the right things. Because you have to ask yourself, what has having a troubled brain or a brain that's not been working effective cost you in your life? Maybe with bad decisions. I mean, you know, the thing that causes people to live long or not long, the thing that causes people to have money or not have money, the thing that helps relationships be good or not good is the quality of your decisions. And if your brain's not working at its peak performance, your decisions will never be what they could. I mean, imagine having full control over your decisions. You know what you want, and you're actually able, over time, consistently to act in a way to get you what you want. I mean, how exciting would that be to have that kind of control over yourself? What does your brain cost you in terms of your mood? Being sad, being mad, being irritable, being negative, because that's what happens when a brain is not fully optimal, or being less effective at work or in your relationships, or what's so common today is having trouble focusing. It's a new study out by Microsoft. In the year 2000, our attention span was 12 seconds, but now it's only 8 seconds because of all the gadgets and all the distractions around us. A goldfish has an attention span of 9 seconds. So we're really in trouble in our society. But when you focus on giving your brain the nutrients it needs, your attention span can be so much longer. Do you have sleep problems? When you don't sleep right, brand new research, fascinating research that your brain actually cleans or washes itself during sleep. So if you're not sleeping properly, you actually don't have the brain power that if you did. And I really want to know, what has brain problems cost you in terms of your memory, brain fog, cognitive clarity? I am here to tell you, you are not stuck with the brain you have. You can make it better. So just a little bit about me. I've been at this work a long time. I'm a double board certified psychiatrist. I'm board certified in general psychiatry, in child and adolescent psychiatry. I have a specialty in brain imaging here at Amen Clinics. We do 2 brain imaging studies, one called brain SPECT imaging. SPECT looks at blood flow and activity, looks at how your brain works. Over the last 24 years, we've done over 115,000 scans on people from all over the world, 111 countries. It's so exciting for us. We also do another study called quantitative EEG, which looks at the electrical activity in your brain. And we've done maybe 10,000 of those. So we have a lot of experience and know that most mental health issues are in fact brain issues. And that when you optimize your brain, you can just feel so much better. In addition to being a psychiatrist, I am also a writer. I've written 10 New York Times best-selling books, including Change Your Brain, Change Your Life, which was a 40-week bestseller. I've also written Change Your Brain, Change Your Body, The Daniel Plan, which was an international bestseller. It's a program we did in a church that is now being done in thousands of churches around the world. And so when I talk to you about having a better brain and a better life, it comes with a lot of experience. And why is this so important? Well, according to the US government, 51% of the US population, so more than half of us, will have a mental illness or psychiatric problem at some point in their lives. ADD, anxiety, depression, addictions, and memory problems are the most common. You might not think of it this way, but things like obesity, hypertension, diabetes, prediabetes, heart disease are brain problems. It is your brain that pushes you away from the table, telling you that you've had enough, or it is your brain that gives you permission to have the third bowl of ice cream. And so making good decisions affects your physical health, which also affects the health of your brain. There are dozens of studies now, I published 2 of them, that say as your weight goes up, the actual physical size and function of your brain goes down, which should just scare the fat off anyone. And we would have never known that if it wasn't for looking at people's brains. Let me tell you why I care about this so much. I first started my imaging work in 1991, and I was like a little kid, so excited. And I scanned many people that I knew. I scanned some of my friends, I scanned some of my kids, I even scanned my 60-year-old mother. And my mom at 60 had a perfect brain. It was so healthy. And then I went and scanned myself. And when I scanned myself, it wasn't healthy. It was bumpy, it looked older than I was, and I was horrified. Now, I'd played football in high school. I also had meningitis when I was in the Army. And I had a lot of bad brain habits. I was overweight, I wasn't sleeping, I was chronically stressed, I drank diet soda like I was addicted. And when I saw my brain, I developed this concept that I use with my patients called brain envy. I really started to care about my brain. How could my 60-year-old mother have a healthier looking brain than I did? And I got really serious about brain health. In fact, I developed this program that I'm going to share with you for myself and my patients. And 20 years later, my brain looked healthier, fuller, fatter, and cognitively, I am every bit as sharp, if not more, than I was 25 years ago. And so I am so excited to share this program with you. And it was really the imaging work that has just changed everything in my life. And I got hooked on it. But you know, most psychiatrists actually never look at people's brains. Most psychiatrists, still even today, it's a war I'm in with my colleagues, make diagnoses based on symptom clusters, sort of like they did in 1840 when Lincoln was depressed. I love Lincoln. He's one of my heroes because he failed and he failed and he failed, but he kept trying. And then, you know, obviously became one of the best presidents we've ever had. But he had periods of depression, bad depression, suicidal depression. And in the winter of 1840, he went to his doctor, Anson Henry. And how did Dr. Henry diagnose him with depression? He talked to him, he looked at him, he looked for symptom clusters, and then he diagnosed and treated him. Well, that's exactly what happens today. If you go to a psychiatrist or your family doc, they'll talk to you, they'll look at you, they'll look for symptom clusters, and then they'll give you medicine, which I think is just crazy. So since about 1992, 1993, I've been at a war with my colleagues because I'm like, how do you know unless you look? Stop lying. If you don't look, you don't know. But with the criticism I got, and if you knew me personally, you would know I'm a bit anxious and I have this flaw of I like it when people like me. I don't really want to be in a fight with you. And so I was anxious and upset about all the controversy. I knew what I was doing was right, and it helped my patients get better faster. But it all changed in April of 1995. I got a call from a mother late at night saying that her 9-year-old son, Andrew, had attacked a little girl on the baseball field. And I'm like, wow. I said, what else is going on with him? And she said, Dr. Amen, he's different. He's sad and he's mad and he never smiles anymore and he has this explosive temper. And I went into his room today and I found 2 pictures that he had drawn. One of them he was hanging from a tree. The other picture he was shooting other children. And I'm on the other end of the phone just horrified. And now that I think about it, is Andrew was Columbine, Aurora, Sandy Hook waiting to happen. And I said, I want to see him the next day. And they were actually from 8 hours away and drove to see me. And as I sat with Andrew, I said, what is going on? And he said, Dr. Amen, I just don't know. I am mad all the time. I'm irritable. I said, is anybody teasing you? He said, no. I said, is anybody hurting you, bullying you? No. He says, anybody touching you in places they shouldn't be touching you? He said, no. He said, I don't know. And in my mind, based on all the imaging work, I went, I need to scan him. He probably had a problem in his left temporal lobe, which is an area we had already associated to violence. I actually went with him to the imaging center and held his hand as he got scanned. He had a little teddy bear in the other hand. And the scan was very unusual. It actually showed that he was missing his left temporal lobe. I'd never seen that before. And I looked to my friend who is my mentor, and he wrote down cyst, stroke, tumor. And so we got an MRI that day, and what we found is he had a cyst the size of a golf ball occupying the space of his left temporal lobe. And I was glad we had a reason to explain his behavior, sad that he had a significant medical problem. And then I called his pediatrician and I said, you find someone to take this out, because he was from Southern California. At the time I was living in Northern California, and the pediatrician called me back 3 days later. He said, oh, the neurologist didn't think the cyst had anything to do with his behavior and they wouldn't operate on him until he had real symptoms. And I remember jumping down that pediatrician's throat. I said, what do you mean? I have a homicidal, suicidal child. How much more real can the symptoms get? And he got nervous and he said, well, I think they mean things like seizures. I talked to a number of other doctors who told me the same thing. But if I'm good at anything, it's being persistent. And so I called actually the pediatric neurosurgery department at UCLA and talked to Jorge Lazareff. Dr. Lazareff was the pediatric neurosurgeon. In fact, you may remember him. He's the neurosurgeon who separated the Guatemalan twins at the head. And he was famous to me before then because he said, Dr. Amen, when these cysts are symptomatic, and obviously they are in Andrew, we take them out. And after surgery, I got 2 calls. One from Andrew's mother who said, oh my God, I'm so grateful to you, because when Andrew woke up from surgery, the surgery went really well. He smiled at me. She said he hadn't smiled for a year. And then I got a call from Dr. Lazareff who said, oh my God, Dr. Amen, I'm so glad you sent him to us, because that cyst was not a normal one. It was so aggressive that it actually thinned the bone over his left temporal lobe, that if he would have been hit in the head with a basketball, it would have killed him instantly. Either way, he would have been dead in 6 months. And this story is really important to me because Andrew's my nephew. He's my godson. And when I think of it, and I think of all the people who've had troubled behavior, it's so easy. The easy answer is to say, he's bad or she's bad. Nobody's ever thinking about the actual physical functioning of the brain. And quite frankly, when your brain works right, you work right. And when the brain is troubled, for whatever reason, a head trauma, a cyst, toxic exposure, an infection, you've not done a good job of taking care of it, then your behavior is off. But now, 18 years later, Andrew's employed, he owns his own home, he's a great son, he's a great nephew, he's able to live his life independently and effectively. And it was really that moment, that story, that caused me to not be anxious anymore, but to tell people, if your behavior's off, you should come and have somebody look at your brain. Because without it, people are without maps. But what I've also discovered is there's so many wonderful, simple, practical things you can do to keep your brain healthy. But the first thing you have to do is care about it. If you don't care, then you will let your bad habits slip you or move you down a slide that you are not going to like. Because what we've seen, looking at thousands of scans, is as we age, our brain just gets less and less active. But the exciting news is you are not stuck with the brain you have. You can make it better, and I can prove it. We actually did the world's biggest and largest study on active and retired NFL players. Brain damage, rampant. I'm not the only one that says that now. Brand new study just came out a few weeks ago. 96% of the players they have autopsied have had serious brain damage. So what's the framework? I mean, how do you really get well? Well, let me tell you what we do here at Amen Clinics. We look at brain systems. We look at what they do, what happens when things go wrong. I talk about it in all my work. We look at your prefrontal cortex, temporal lobes, cingulate gyrus. And in my work, which you can learn more about, I want you to know, well, what systems are likely to be troubled and what can you do about it? Now, a lot of people go, oh, but I have to get a scan. Well, a long time ago, I realized not everyone can get a scan. So based on thousands of scans, I developed a series of questionnaires to help you know what system may be troubled and then specifically what to do about it. The second thing is you have to have brain envy. I mean, you have to care about your brain because it controls everything you do. And the reason most people don't care about the brain, you can't see it. So you can see the wrinkles in your skin or the fat around your belly, and you can do something when you don't like it. And that's why I love imaging, because it immediately changes people's behavior because they start caring. But I want you, just listening to this video series, to really start caring about your brain. So, assessment, either do that with imaging. We have some online tools for you and questionnaires to help you with assessment. And then optimization. It's so interesting. Most people get their labs done and they're happy if they're normal. Well, what I've learned is normal, quite frankly, is sick. That 50% of people 85 years and older will be diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. That's normal, and I want no part of it. That 51% of the US population will have a mental illness at some point in their life, ADD, anxiety, depression. That's normal, and I don't want any part of it. So, for example, I want you to know your BMI, body mass index, your C-reactive protein, it's a measure of inflammation, blood sugar levels, fasting blood sugar levels, vitamin D, ferritin. And I don't want those levels to be normal. I want them to be optimal, and I'll help you know what they are. So assessment, optimize your numbers. Your brain needs to heal in multiple ways. You need to help your brain stay healthy in multiple ways. So that means not having inflammation. So working with anti-inflammation, things like fish oil can be really helpful. Boosting blood flow to the brain. Nutrient support, blood sugar stabilization, energy for the brain. So there are all these mechanisms that I'll help you learn much more about. And then you want the short course on preventing Alzheimer's and decreased accelerated aging, is you have to prevent all the illnesses that are associated with it, from head trauma, alcohol abuse, smoking, obesity, hypertension, heart disease, sleep apnea, insomnia, untreated ADD, untreated depression. But ultimately, it comes down to why do you care? Because if you don't really care about your brain, it's going to be really hard to keeping it healthy. But if you care, and in your soul, you know why it is critical to be healthy. If you know, then you can stay the course and be the outlier. Because what happens to most people, and having done studies on thousands of people, your brain gets less and less active as you age. I hate that. When I turned 60, it was very different than turning 30 or 40 or even 50, because I've seen a lot of 60-year-old brains, and quite frankly, they're not healthy. They just get less and less active. And with that comes more depression, comes more difficult behavior, less impulse control, poor memory, and brain fog. And I don't want any of that. And so I want a big, full, fat brain. So I desire to have a great brain. Why? Because I love my kids. I adore my wife. I'm completely in love with my grandbabies, with the mission I have on life. And quite frankly, I don't want to be a burden to anyone else, and I don't want anybody else having to take care of me. I want to have my faculties for as long as I can optimize so I can be the best messenger for the message I have for my life. What about you? Why do you care? Why is it important to you to have a better brain so that you can have a better life? I want you to write that down and share it with us, or create a video about why it's important to you. I have this great recent experience of a woman from Oxford, England, who shows up in my clinic at the age of 83, as sharp as can be, came here all by herself, and she found a copy of Change Your Brain, Change Your Life for 50 cents in a used bookstore 3 years ago. And before then, she was depressed. She was significantly overweight. In fact, when I talked to her, she made this face. She said, I used to be like, and now I'm not. So overweight, depressed, tired, brain fog. And when she read the book, she said she was riveted, so that made me feel awesome. And she said, I just started doing one thing at a time. I started drinking water. And then I started walking. And then I started taking brain healthy supplements. And then I started listening to brain healthy music. But she knew why. She was sick of being sick. Now, I don't want you to have to be sick in order to get well. We're going to talk about that. But I want to know, why do you care? Why do you want to have a better brain and a better life? And what can you do about it? Stay with me.